I'm going to turn our Bibles to Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5, verse 1. Seeing the crowds, he went up on the mountain, and when he sat down, his disciples came to him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called sons of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when others revile you, persecute you, utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For they persecuted the prophets who were before you. Let's pray. Lord, as we search the scriptures, as the truth of your word empowers us, I pray that you would set us free from any type of notion of gaining power for ourselves to protect the weakness and the frailty of our souls and our hearts. I pray that you would grant us, Lord God, mercy, for we are in need of your mercy. And I pray that you would transform us so that we may understand the truth of your word and cherish it, for it sets us free. And we pray all of this in your sweet name. Amen. One of the things that you have to remember, and I will say it again and again, is the word, hopefully, the Greek word that you understand it to be is makarios, right? It is a state of being. It is this position of blessedness. To say currently, together, today, that I am blessed. Jesus was looking at his disciples and all those who were following, and he was saying, consider yourself blessed. And let me tell you why. Don't consider yourself someone who is in need of something else, and that when I bless you, you will be blessed. But no, today, do you know it? Are you in love with me as I declare you blessed? Are you understanding that I have called you blessed today? And so today we're going to look at blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. This one sounds pretty mundane, right? Blessed are the merciful, people who are full of mercy, grace, kindness, love, forgiveness. Blessed are those people who declare, hey, I will have mercy upon you. And then the Bible promises Jesus, he says, for they, those people who display mercy, they shall receive mercy. For us as believers, this is one of those things you read and you're like, yes! How blessing it is to be able to declare that we will receive mercy. That God has promised us that we will receive mercy as long as we do this. And so let's practice that. And for many of us approaching Christianity that way, if you do this, then God will give you that. May be the only way that we think about Scripture. God, if I will do this for you, if I will pray, if I will go to church, if I will do and give more and do all of these things, will you have mercy on me? And so you hold on to that. But I think unless you truly understand what this text says, you're going to get everything wrong. You're going to live your life trying to accomplish something so that God will give you heaven. God will have mercy on your soul, which is a sinner. But that is not, I believe, what Jesus was saying. Do you guys remember when you were kids? Some of you are currently junior high little kids right now. But When I was younger, we played an archaic game of superiority with my fellow brothers, right? My boy, the guys were all around. We couldn't beat each other up, right? You can't go out on recess and be like, I am top dog, so I'm going to beat up everyone else. Because if you do that, you get suspended or expelled, and you can't do that because your parents will beat you to death. And so that's not going to happen. And so in order to display who is the alpha dog, the strongest among us, we played many arcade games as boys. The first one we played was arm wrestling, right? We would arm wrestle to show our prowess. I don't understand exactly the physics of the length of the arm, the pivot arm, and what kind of strength you need. But at the end of the day, whoever was the king of arm wrestling, you were the strongest. We lifted heavy things. Even now, I remember when we used to lift weights, we used to always go into the gym. And I remember all the boys used to put on like a bunch of weight, maybe 25 pounds on each side, and they would lift, and all the receivers were like trying. And then some other guy would show up, and they would put 2 plates of 45 pounds, 225 pounds, and they would be like, and all the other boys would be like, hey, so strong, and they would be floored at the strength of a person. We would kind of show the others that we were more powerful than the other ones because we were stronger than them. I remember when I was trying to thin out and I wanted to lift weights, I no longer lifted heavy weights. And so I took the bar and I remember lifting the bar as many times as possible. It's still 45 pounds, but I remember just doing it as many times as possible. I don't know if it was 25 times or 100 times, but at the end of lifting all of that, I got to a point where I was struggling to lift the bar. And I remember as I was lifting the bar and I was shaking as I was trying to put up the last bar, people came around and looked at me like, what is wrong with you? Why can't you lift the bar, right? Because I was like, oh God, I can't get it up. And I was like, I might need help, and I'm struggling with this bar. And I'm like resting it on my chest and I'm like, oh my God, please someone help me. And as I was feeling it, I felt foolish. I felt weak. I felt like, man, you know what I'm going to do next time? I felt so weak that the next time I came, I did put on the 2 45-pound weights, and I was like, everybody look right now, right? Because in my heart, it is this gesture of strength to say, I am stronger than you. There was one game, this one arcade game, that we played all the time. And the game would be one where we would stand very close to one another, and we would put our hands and we would lock fingers, right? And as the boys, everyone would kind of make a circle at recess, and we would hold hands and we would be like, let's go. And then we would hold our hands together, we would lock fingers, and immediately when we say go, we would begin to crush the other person's fingers and bend them in such a way where it would twist and bend backwards until they were kneeling before us. And then we would say, say it! Say it! And, the guy would be holding his knuckles, and he would try not to say it, and he would bend it further and further back until out of sheer agony and pain, they would scream out the words, mercy, mercy, mercy. And at the point of total embarrassment and destruction of power, they would cry out, please let my hand go. Mercy, mercy. And at that point, everyone would know clearly who is the more powerful one and who was the weak one. And then you would play this game with the next strongest and the next strongest and challenger after challenger until you have dominated the entire field. And then you would say, I am the one who has mercy on everyone else. And I will never cry out for mercy to anyone else or bow before anyone else. You see, the one who cries out for mercy was admitting their weakness and surrender before the one who must choose to grant that mercy to the one who stands before them powerless. You see, when you are on the ground and you are on your knees and your fingers are bent and there is nothing more you can do, you have exhausted continue to hurt the other person. It is his choice. There's nothing inside of him that has to say, you know what, I am going to stop because you cry out for mercy. No, I'm just going to hurt you. And I'm going to go until maybe I break your fingers. Maybe until you can never fight for mercy ever again. But instead, for most of us, we stopped. We did grant them mercy. In their cry for relief, we said, all right, buddy, we'll give you mercy. But now you know who is strong and who is weak. When you cry out for mercy, it is a declaration of surrender to the will of the person who is more powerful. But the one that is granting the mercy, it denotes some type of challenge or offense. It is that someone has come up to you and said, let me challenge your strength. And so you must put them in their place and take away that offense, that challenge to say that I am stronger, I am more powerful, I want to dethrone you. And so you must show them that who is stronger. When the Israelites, when the people of God heard this from Jesus, they would love the first part. Because what they would hear is, blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. And when they heard the first part, they would like it because it says, blessed are the merciful, the one who grants mercy, the one who is powerful, the one who can tell someone else who has offended them, who is weaker, and to tell them, you know what? I will forgive you, though you don't deserve it. I am the stronger one, and I have the will and the power to do whatever I want, but let me grant you that mercy. Let me be strong. And so the Israelites would sit there and they would be like, yeah, that makes sense. But the second part they would never agree with. Then you will receive mercy. You see, for they knew what it was like to be at the mercy of the Roman soldiers. They knew what it was like to be so powerless that they would be thrown into jail. They would be overpowered by anyone and anything, and there was nothing that they could do. They didn't want to remain there. They didn't want power to be removed. You see, none of us wants to be under the power of corruption or of people who can do whatever they want with us. You want to be strong so that you are the one who is granting other people mercy, but there should never be a part of you that says, you know what? I want to be at the mercy of someone else. How many people, under the corruption of people, have been wrongly placed under such power? There was a missionary pastor named Kenneth Bay, and for all of us who are pastors in this place, we still cry out for his freedom. We have signed petitions. I have placed all over Facebook people asking them to sign a petition so that the United States people will go over and plead for the life of Kenneth Bay. Kenneth Bay went over as a pastor and a missionary to bring the gospel, the good news to the people. In North Korea, where communism and the corruption that exists, they took him, found him, put him in jail, and they refused to let him go. They have shaved his head, they have kept his family away, and basically told him, we can do whatever we want with you. You see, you don't want to be at the mercy of people that you can't trust for the corruption or whatever they will just because they're stronger than anyone else, because they have might, they can do whatever they want with you. Why would you ever want to be one who needs mercy? To cry out, to be powerless, to say, hey, could you, would you, please, maybe, just set me free. I can't do anything about it. I need you to just have mercy. And so the Israelite people would never want to be ones who need mercy, but what they long for, what they desire, what they're passionate about is that one day they would become one who gives mercy. To be a giver of mercy is everything that their soul longs for. You know how they did it? The only way that they can. They became powerful in religion and righteousness. What they decided to do was that they were inside a society where being righteous and religious and doing everything in perfection meant that you had power. That people brought gifts and people brought love and submission because they submitted to them and said, tell us what to do, teacher. Tell us what you want us to do, how much you want us to give, and we will give whatever. They became people of power who demanded righteousness. You know what ended up happening? These religious leaders became merciless to anyone who lived in sin. If you did not offer the right offering, if you did not tithe the right way, if you lived your life however you wanted, they became merciless. They put you in jail. They stoned you. They killed you. They threatened you. And they said, you are powerless to me, who has the authority of God. And so they gained their power by trying to be holier than everyone else. Or, in order to sustain their power, they hid all of their sins. They lived a life where they said, I am powerful because I am sinless, and so I will rule over you. And so that perpetuated in their society, day after day after day. What you have to know is this: a life that strives for perfection before men removes the need to ever kneel before God to plead and receive for mercy. I'm going to say that again. If you try and strive and you find your worth in Christianity, religion, anything else because of your perfection, and it removes your need to ever kneel and cry out for mercy, then it takes you away from the grace that God has promised and the mercy that He has said. Because you, in your perfection, in your living it, what you are telling the world is that I don't need God's mercy. Let me ask you this, as a church and as members of this church. What is it that you celebrate about Christianity in your life? Do you celebrate when you do your quiet times? When you abstain from sin? Is that what you cherish? Every day when you wake up, do you say, oh God, thank you for giving me the strength to not sin? That is what I love. I love the fact that I am not like the sinners all around who are addicted to this and fornicating in this way, who are liars, who live this way. Is that what you celebrate? That you are better and that you have kept the law better than everyone else? Is that what you love? And there are some of you that are saying, Pastor Bobby, I don't celebrate anything about living according to God's word. That's like a different story. But what I'm asking is for those of you that love Christ deeply in your soul, when you wake up, do you celebrate you not having sinned the week before or the day before? Or are you living righteously more than everyone else? And are you depressed and sad when you can't do it, when you are weak, when you need people's prayers, when you are asking God for mercy because you cannot overcome? What is it that you celebrate? Because those who need God's mercy every day, and I'm not talking about some grievous sin that you commit every day. I'm talking about the fact that your soul refuses to bow down to God. Your soul refuses to say that your life is surrendered to Him. And do you wake up in the morning and do you say, I need your mercy because I want to live my life however I want. I want to treat my wife and I want to treat my family however I want, whatever I feel. I want to go and live my life doing the work that I do however I want. I don't really care what you say. Or do you say, God, I'm going to do that again today. I need your mercy. Because if you celebrate your works and how pure you've been or what you haven't done every day, then you haven't been one that wakes up in the morning, that bows before God and says, today I am capable of far more sin than I could ever imagine. And I need your mercy and I need your grace today. What is it that you look to? What is it that you celebrate? Do you celebrate Christ? Do you celebrate His strength? Do you celebrate His perfection and His mercy? Or is it about you? Because what the Pharisees did every day is they prayed and asked God, God, thank you that I am not like others who are so weak against sin. I thank you that I have been able to do my quiet times, love and cherish God's word. I thank you that I am not like the sinners that I see before who need mercy. And so, when Jesus said, blessed are the merciful, they were like, right on. For they shall receive mercy. They were like, nope, that's not me. The first part applies to me, but not the second. Blessed are the merciful. Yes, God, I want to reach such perfection of love for you, and I want to get to a place where I am living such a holy life that when people sin against me, when people gossip, when people talk smack about me, I want to grant them mercy. I want to give them grace, and I want to tell them, hey, brother, I know you committed sin against me, but I love you. Doesn't that feel good? It's like, oh my God. I'm a Jesus follower, and I love God so much that I can grant you forgiveness for the terrible sins you commit every day and how you live against God. You know what? Let me love you anyway. You see, isn't it much easier for you to be one who displays mercy for others because it is a position of power? It is a position that says, I take God seriously and you don't, so you know what you need from me? I need to tolerate you. And I need to accept you as a brother, but there's something really wrong with you. It would make sense. You don't pray the right way. You don't preach the right way. You don't live the right way. So let me tolerate you. Let me be merciful to you. And I will just let you be. But when you come to the next part and Jesus says, blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. If you are such a way, why would you ever need mercy? Why would you ever need to come to God every second of your life and say, God, I need mercy? No, instead you will always be like, God, thank you that I am not like those people. I'm good. Man, I remember when I struggled like crazy, but now, thank you, Lord, I'm pretty good. I live my life. I love your word. I am passionate about your kingdom. Thank you. So the Israelites, just like us, they cherished it. They loved holiness. They fought for it tooth and nail, and they loved living righteously. But when Jesus said these words, it didn't make any sense. Because they were doing everything right, and Jesus was saying, no, you don't get it. I need to give you mercy. And they were like, no, that part doesn't apply. I need a little bit. And so I sacrifice, and I give the animals. Micah chapter 6, verse 6, it says this. With what shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before God on high? And shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Because that was a requirement. Will the Lord be pleased with 1,000 of rams and 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul? And it was saying, I would give God everything that he requires. And then in verse 8, he has told you, O man, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you but to do justice, to love, kindness, mercy, and to walk humbly with your God? He said, I don't want 10,000 lambs sacrificed. I don't want you to give me your firstborn because you're telling me that you're going to dedicate your life, you're going to live holy. Read 10,000 pages of the Bible and that will show me that you're serious about me. And he was saying, no. I want to see in your life love, charity, mercy, goodness. I want to see in your heart overflow the things that characterize who I am. Because you're going to come to me and you're going to say, look at all the righteous things that I do and all the ways that I do good for your kingdom. And he says, no, what I look for is a changed heart. Because such a heart that has mercy cannot come truly apart from me. He's not demanding a stricter adherence to the laws of the Bible. How many of you will be able to live perfect enough so that God looks at you and says you are acceptable? At what point will you be acceptable to God enough that you will say, God, I don't do this, and so therefore you should love me? But the Bible continues to say, it is not what you do, it is not your sacrifices. I don't need that because it is all imperfect. Why do you live that way? Why do you come to church every day and say to me, I'm going to change and I'm going to do this and I'm going to live more like this And that gift changes you. Changes you to be one who will forever be merciful before those who commit sin against you. Because you have seen it when you approach my throne, that you have never been one who lives perfectly before me. You are an enemy to me, and I have loved you. So for the people that heard this message, they would never agree. They would say, I love the first part, but God, I don't know what the second part means. But what is the good news but this, that God Himself has mercy on us? Psalm chapter 25, verse 6 says this, remember your mercy, O Lord, and your steadfast love, for they have seen from of old. Remember not the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions, according to your steadfast love. Remember me for the sake of your goodness, O Lord. What the psalmist was saying was this, I have sins of my past and present, and I will sin in the future. And all I am asking for is your mercy. What I cherish is not the works that I do. What I cherish is your heart that knows my sin perfectly, and yet you granted me mercy. Isn't that weird? Isn't that weird that you would rather be powerful and then talk to God when you are strong and when you are not sinning? And that's when God makes sense to you more. Unlike the psalmist who says, you make sense to me when I need your mercy, and that mercy I need every second of every breath. Do you know who never lives apart from Christ is one who craves the mercy of God for every second of every breath of their life? But for those that believe that they're strong and only need God when they're out of money, when they're out of love, when they're out of position, when they're out of a job, when they're out of everything in life, and when God only makes sense when you are no longer powerful. And so you strive every day to ask God, make me powerful so I don't need you anymore. I don't need your mercy anymore. You will be much like the Pharisees that every day only see God when you need mercy. And to be in a position of power where you can grant mercy to other people who are weaker than you. You can truly never be a servant, and you can truly never be one who breathes the words, "Oh God, have mercy upon me, a sinner." 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9 says this, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession, that you may proclaim the excellencies of him who called you out of darkness into the marvelous light. Once you were not my people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy." Who would you rather be? Would you have sat around Jesus and when he said, "Blessed are the merciful," would your soul have said, "Yes, that's good"? And when he said, "Because for them you will receive mercy," will you say, "You know, God, I haven't really done anything bad recently. I don't know why I would need your mercy"? In your total and absolute honesty, is there a part of you that truly wakes up every morning needing God's mercy? Is there a part of you that goes to sleep needing God's mercy? Every time you are to love a sibling or a member of your family, is there a part of you that says, "God, I cannot love them. I need your mercy and your grace because I kill them in my heart every day"? Is there a part of you that knows through and through that every day and every second at your job you say, "God, I need your mercy because I cannot love my coworkers. I cannot love even myself. Every time I sin, I can't even receive the love that you have told me I need your mercy"? Is there an honest need of God's mercy every second of your life? Because if there isn't, then I'm here to tell you, you are that far from God's presence. You are so far away from Him that you cherish when you do not need God's mercy. And when you need it, you feel bad that you need His mercy. For you look upon the cross and you say, God, I cannot wait till the day when I no longer need that blood to cover over me. Because when that happens, and as it continues to happen, you will go further and further from God, like the Pharisees. And God will look upon you and say, be gone from me. I don't know you. Recently I watched a movie. I loved it. I don't think I've cried that much in a movie in a long time. I just wept, and then I laughed, and then I wept again, and then I laughed, and I wept and wept. And I was like, my God, this movie's killing me. It's literally destroying my very being. I was watching, and I couldn't take it, right? It's just too much. And when you're watching this, the reason why it's powerful, because it's about teenagers. And I love the teenagers and all of you guys, but there are a group of teenagers that just are suffering, far more than you will ever imagine. You guys have parents that demand you be excellent, go to Hagwon every day of your life to become like some of our young adults who are engineers and nurses and powerful. And, they're out there changing the world through their art or whatever it is that they do. They're doing whatever. But there are a group of teenagers that don't have parents that have any expectations for them. My wife is a teacher at a school where the parents expect them to work. They don't expect them to get through school or even make it out of high school, but they want them to work because their family can't even put food on the table. And so they need them to work 40 hours a day and not do their schoolwork. But even worse than that, there are teenagers who are abused by their own parents. Sexually, physically, just tortured. Because their parents are supposed to be the ones that protect them. Their parents are supposed to be the ones that dream for them when they can't dream for themselves. Their parents are supposed to be the one that when you fall on your knees and you say, you know what, I'm done, I can't do that anymore. I don't think that I'm worth it. When you tell yourself you're not beautiful, they're the ones that look at you and say, no, you are the most beautiful. You are mine and I love you and I will never abandon you. But instead of those people standing by your side and telling you that you are powerful, beautiful, and even when you fail and you are weak, that they will be there, they become predators of their own children. Whatever brokenness that they have not dealt with, they find their fulfillment in hurting their own children. This movie is about a bunch of those kids. And as I was watching it, my stomach was flipping over on itself. I was getting literally sick. And every time there was a vulnerable moment when a kid who has been abused all his life would find the beauty of love, it wrecked me. There was a kid that was abused by his mom every day, beaten until the skull of his head was bumpy, everywhere bumpy. And there was a scene where he would get his hair cut, and as he was getting his hair cut, he couldn't even look up at the mirror. Why? Because he would say, are there a lot of bumps? Are there a lot of bruises? And they both, the counselors looked at them and said, no, you're handsome, you're beautiful. And he was like, what? And as he looked up at the mirror and he saw that there were no bumps, such joy that tears would flow from his eyes. There was a scene in the movie where this counselor had told the people in authority, do not let this girl go back to her house. Her dad is abusing her. Whether it's sexual, whether it's physical, she is being abused, and the only way that she could portray it is through tears. And so she said, don't let her go back. The counselor herself had gone through the most horrific sexual abuse by her dad, And so she fought for the kids, and yet she couldn't even heal herself. And as she was going through this, she found out that the girl, the little teenage girl, was sent home with her dad. The counselor had reached the peak of emotional brokenness. She got on her bike, went to the father's house where the little girl was, opened the back door, and she grabbed the bag. As she climbed the stairs, the dad was sleeping in the bed, sound asleep. And as you were watching the movie, like, my heart was like, beat him, like, kill him, like, just wreck him. And then there was a part of me that was like, but what if he didn't do it? What if the girl made it up? But I was like, no, but what if he did do it? Kill him! And I was wrestling as she was holding the bat and he was sound asleep. I was like, oh! Kill him. For no one should ever abuse their child in such a way. And the little girl comes out. And she looks at the counselor and says, a little bit going overboard or something like a little extreme, isn't it? And she calls the counselor out. And they sit down. And the counselor begins to cry as she shares her story. And the little girl, in all of that, shows mercy to her father. And she shows the wounds and the bruises that she got from her dad by the beating. Because she told her, this is the last time I will be with you. I would rather be in the foster home than you abuse me. And so he beat her that night. What I couldn't understand was how she showed mercy to her dad. She was one in power who could say, you know what? He deserves that beating. He deserves to die for what he does to me. And you know what? All the rage inside of you for what your father has done, you should be able to take it out on this other man who is as abusive. You know what? You should do that. And part of me was like, yeah, you should do that. You know what it takes to show mercy is to look upon the sin and the perpetrator of that who has taken away all that should be right in your heart. And to say that the greatest and the most deep grievance can be forgiven. It doesn't make you weak, but you have to be more powerful than any other human being to say that you can forgive that person at that moment. And God himself, when he looked at you and all of your nasty, evil perpetration of idolatry and rebellion against God, and you said, I want to do whatever I want to do, and you can control my life. And he looked at you and he said, to you, I will sacrifice my perfect son, who has never disappointed me, never done anything wrong, so that you who hate me, can be my son that I love forever. God has mercy on you, not because he cannot see your heart every second as you rebel against him, but he chooses in his strength to submit himself to you and to say, I will die so that you can have life. There's only one type of person who craves mercy every second for their own life and grants it to other people. The one who has seen it in their own God, who has received it and has been floored by such a love. But those of you who are playing religion, you will love the first, but you will hate the second. You will always be confused by the message of the gospel because it says you need mercy every second. And in it, you will be a grantor of mercy to every broken person. Let's pray. Do you know such a love? Have you been floored by such a love that you can forgive the worst of your enemies? You can have mercy. Like it's not even something that you have to try to do, but as you fall before God and receive His mercy every second of every breath, that when you hate someone, you cannot even begin to hate them because God comes and you wrestle in your soul. That one who doesn't deserve any kind of love and forgiveness. Because I believe most of you play religion. You claim that God is your God and that you have some kind of faith. But what Jesus told them very directly is this: if you cannot grant people mercy, then I am here to tell you that maybe you have never tasted of the mercy that transforms you in such a way where it is all that you can do. Because every day you face the reality of how much you need His mercy. And I wonder how far maybe some of you have gone. Or maybe how little you understand the truth of this gospel. Because I ask you today, would you drink of it? Would you really? Who are you before God? And why? What does Christianity say? What is every page of this book, 66 books, what does it describe? It describes a God who looked upon your rebellion and He had mercy. And He said, I don't need you to give me sacrifices. I need you to have received so much of my love and grace and mercy that it overflows from your soul to every person you encounter who will hurt you, because this world has fallen apart. It has rejected me and it is living in sin. Do you know me in that way? Do you know my love in that way? Has it floored you in that way every second of every moment of every breath? Because if it hasn't, if Christianity is just something you do, something you talk about or say, but it is not experienced in your soul, then you are so far from that which can transform your whole life. So would you think upon the truth of His Word and where you truly are with Him? Let's pray.